Hi everyone, IntuitiveEdge here. Welcome again to my channel. So I wanted to talk about a little something that I saw intuitively. I was out in the living room and my husband had the football game on, and it was the Chicago Bears. At one point when they were coming back from commercial, I looked up at the TV and they had a picture of the Chicago, like the downtown area. There's that big jelly bean looking thing that's like one big mirror, but it's kind of a concave mirrored thing. I don't know how to describe it or what it's called, but it's like a sculpture type thing in Chicago. Anyway, as soon as I saw that, I saw a black man, being tied up in like a warehouse. Well, so what happened was I started getting messages of some of the violence going on in Chicago, and I don't know if this is violence that's going to be coming up in a few days, and I don't know if we'll hear about this on the news, but I was kind of started to get kind of grieved, and I don't like seeing violence. So I tried not to see too much. I just kind of knew that these men, there were several men that were rounded up, and I did get that at least one of them was completely innocent. I think it's a gang on gang thing, but one of the people that they rounded up was not even involved, like not even like completely innocent. But I do think, unfortunately, that these men are murdered, and it's pretty brutal. I didn't want to look too much intuitively at that because I just don't want my energy to have to endure that. But I just knew intuitively that they were being murdered, and it was pretty horrible. So I don't like to see that kind of stuff. So I generally don't. I don't watch scary, horror movies or things like that. I can't do that with, anybody who's an empath or any kind of intuitive knows their limits. But when we do see stuff, it's like, we're being shown, and I felt that, like, I don't know if it's God or heaven or something, but I felt like a real grieving happening, partly because this person that got caught up in this that was innocent is actually a really good person, and I sense like just such grief, not just from from the physical world, but from the higher realms, like grieving over what's been happening in Chicago. And I heard a voice saying, like, when will it end? And I almost felt like it was a question that already had an answer. Like the other side was asking me a rhetorical question. For me, it's not rhetorical because I don't know, but it was like they know. They know when this will end. And it was like they're saying, when will it end? Like leaving it open, like we know there's a path to ending this violence. And I was thinking, well, first you have to root out the lid that's keeping it there. And the lid, to me, that keeps violence in any place is the leadership. It starts at the top, in my opinion. If you have bad leadership, it's going to trickle down, and it's going to cause discord and problems, and people not getting along, and all kinds of, especially if the leadership is very dark. There really is nothing good that will come of any of their decisions. Their decisions will be for dark purposes if they're fully dark. And I just see that's what's been keeping. Of course, there's so much going on in Chicago anyway, with the violence, but I'm just gonna talk, okay? Just bear with me. But I believe that there's rulers from the other side, dark rulers that are in place, but I think they're held there, kind of like a stranglehold on the leadership that keeps the bad leaders in power, and then that continues to further their agenda and their aims, and it's like a vicious cycle that just keeps on repeating until there is some type of intervention or something to come and break the curse, break the hold, break the stronghold in that area. And unfortunately, until that happens, innocent people are going to be hurt and caught up in the crossfire and harmed. So anyway, I feel for anybody who lives in that area, because you're dealing with some heavy energy, and I can imagine what a struggle it must be for people to keep their spirits up and to keep their vibrations high, being around such negativity and such darkness, especially in those inner dark areas. I would definitely not want to set foot in something like that, just because, without being really prayed up and having lots of prayers of protection. So if anybody lives in that area, I don't know if you are listening to my channel, but anybody, I mean, even if you're not involved in any kind of criminal activity or gangs or anything, you really do need to beef up your spiritual protection around yourself, because you live in a very dark area. That city is just, it's one of the worst in the United States for murders per capita, and the violence is just brazen there. And anyway, I just feel that young man that I saw, I think I'm just gonna say some prayers for him, because he's a good soul and a good person, and it's unfortunate kind of what he ended up in. So I think I'm just going to say some prayers for him that he will find the light. It's never easy when a soul goes through being murdered. Sometimes that takes time when they cross over to recover from the trauma of that. Anybody who dies a violent death can really have some trauma that they have to work through on the other side. And as they clear and get their soul healed, there's a process that people go through. And I feel for this young man. I really do. But anyway, I just wanted to share some of my thoughts on some of these areas. It's important for all of us to keep our vibrations high. And if you have an area where you have a leader who is obviously not working for the light, if they're making bad decisions and that's affecting people in a negative way, that needs to be turned around as soon as that's noticed, whether it's through prayer or some type of spiritual engagement where you can engage and try to turn things around spiritually for yourself. But it all starts with the leadership, and those leaders oftentimes become entrenched, and then they hold the darkness in instead of letting things be light. So anyway, these are just some of my ramblings. Just kind of want to weigh in on that. I have a feeling we might hear about more violence in Chicago in the coming days. If we do, I mean, it's kind of like sad, but it's like, well, when don't we hear about the violence coming out of there? But I think that we may hear about some more kind of heavy stuff coming out. So we'll see. But anyway, that's all I have for this. Okay. So anyway, that's all I wanted to share. Just keep your vibrations up. Stay in gratitude. That's probably one of the best ways to do it. Be thankful for what you have, and just ask for your God's angels or the other side to just surround you with light energy and to keep you protected. There's lots of different ways to protect yourself, depending on what your faith background is. But I would just encourage us all, especially if you live in a dark place like Chicago, but any place really, it's important that in the coming days that we keep our vibrations high and try to not get caught up in anger or bitterness or rage, but keep your vibrations high and love other people. Try to see the good in others, and that's about it. So, okay, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. I'll be back on and we'll do some more cards on some other topics. So I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. Love you all. Bye for now.